Hello, my favorite first graders. How are you doing today? It's really good to be here with you today. I am here today to read you some of my very favorite books. I know what you're thinking. Mrs. Langley always says that. Every time I read a book, I say, this is my favorite book. But I really do mean it. I promise I do. So these are my very, very favorite Cinderella stories. So you may have watched the Cinderella story that we are familiar with, Cinderella. This is the Disney version. This is a really old VHS tape. Wow, the sun is doing all kinds of funny things out there. Can you see it getting so bright in here? So this is the version that you're probably familiar with. If your family has watched this before, it's on Disney Plus if you want to go watch it at some point during our stay-at-home time. But if you haven't watched it or read the book, you should find the original story and read it. So that is something that that we're going to be comparing to a lot this week. So we're going to be looking at what happened in the original Cinderella and then reading some books from different places around the world that that have the same story. So this one is called Adelita. Adjust that there so you can see her. So Adelita is a Mexican Cinderella story. And this one was written by Tomie DePaola. And he is the author. He's also the illustrator. So he wrote the words and he also drew the pictures. Right, he's the illustrator too. If you remember from kindergarten, we read Stregonona. I love that one by him. And so that was the same author from that story. So we're going to get started with this today. Ooh, look at those end pages. This is from the school library. You can see lots of people have checked it out. But those end pages are really beautiful. Look at the design in there. And our title page, Adelita by Tomie DePaola. Here we go. Oops. Getting used to the camera. You're going to have to forgive me for a minute. Every time I move this way, I feel like it should move this way. So, here we go. Oh, I forgot to say too. This is probably the hardest one for me to read because there's a lot of words that are in Spanish. And so I can say some words in Spanish and I can understand some things in Spanish, but I don't speak a lot of Spanish. So if I say the word wrong, and you're like, Mrs. Langley, that's not how you say it, just correct me in your head and then just know that I'm doing my very best. I'm giving it a good try. All right, here we go. Hace mucho tiempo. A long time ago. In a village in Mexico, there lived a merchant named Francisco and his beautiful young wife, Adela. One day, Adela said, Francisco, estamos esperando un bebé. We're going to have a baby. Adela, Francisco said, me hace muy feliz saberlo. I am so happy. Then he said, we must send for Esperanza. She will come and take care of you until the baby is born. And then she will help us with the baby. Esperanza had been with the Mercado family since she was a very young girl, and she had looked after Francisco when he was a baby. Esperanza came right away. She took good care of Adela, but after the birth of the baby, Adela was ill. She grew weaker, and shortly after, she held her little girl for the first and last time. Quietly, she passed away. Francisco was heartbroken. He named his baby daughter Adelita, little Adela, after her mother. Francisco was sad for Adela, and he missed her greatly, but gradually Adelita filled his heart with love. Time passed, and Adelita grew into a beautiful young woman. There she is a beautiful young woman. La casa Mercado se llenó de alegría. The Mercado house was full of happiness. I should have had Maestra read this book. She would have been really good at it. Maybe we'll have her do that next time. Let's see. One evening, Francisco called Adelita and Esperanza to his study. My dear Adelita, my good Esperanza. So there's Esperanza. She's her, I guess she's kind of like a nanny. She's someone who takes care of the family and probably does the cooking and things like that. And here's Adelita, and this is Francisco, her father. So, my dear Adelita, my good Esperanza, les tengo noticias. I have some news for you. I have met a charming woman and I have decided to marry again. Her name is Señora Michaela de la Fortuna. She is a widow and she has 2 daughters close to your age, Adelita. I know you will like Donna Michaela and her daughters, Valentina and Dulce. Adelita was happy for her father. Esperanza wasn't so sure, especially after she met Donna Michaela and her daughters. What are her daughters' names? Valentina and Dulce. Que frías son. They're cold ones, Esperanza said. What does that mean to say that someone is cold? Does that mean that they need to put on a jacket? No, that doesn't mean they need to put on a jacket. If you say someone is cold, it just means they're not very friendly. Not very nice people. Esperanza is not very impressed. Life was happy. I'm still trying to figure out how to make it so you can see the pages. Life was happy, but different. Adelita had to share her father's attention, but they still managed to have importantes momentos juntos, special moments together. Adelita didn't mind that Donna Michaela favored her daughters, even though Esperanza complained. It's natural, Adelita told her. Then suddenly, her father passed away from an illness, and everything changed. Poor Adelita was an orphan. Donna Michaela had always been jealous of Adelita, but now she no longer had to hide it. She moved Adelita from her beautiful bedroom to a small room in the attic. Does that sound familiar? Where did Cinderella live? Yep, she lived in the attic too. No longer did Adelita have new dresses. She had to wear hand-me-downs. Worst of all, Valentina and Dulce were mean to her and very hateful. That sounds awful. So there she is in the attic. Doesn't look very warm and inviting, does it? And then here is Dulce and Valentina being mean to her. Probably making her do all of the work, right? Yeah. Adelita began spending all of her time in the kitchen with Esperanza. She helped her with the meals. She listened to the stories about her father as a boy and her mother as a young bride. Because she knew that Esperanza loved her, Adelita's heart stayed warm as the fire in the hearth. One day, Donna Michaela came to the kitchen and spoke to them. I am spending too much money on this household. From now on, you, Adelita, will do all of the work. Oh. You are here all the time anyway. And you, Esperanza, out. I want you to leave immediately. Oh, Señora de la Fortuna, please do not send me away, Esperanza pleaded. I have been with this family since I was a girl. I will work for no money, just for a place to lay my head and a bowl of beans and a tortilla. Oh, please, Mama, Adelita begged. Esperanza can share my room and my food. Out, Señora Michaela de la Fortuna, to Esperanza. She's not having it. She's not going to keep her there. Poor Adelita. There she is. Does she look happy? Or does she look sad? Very sad. And there's Esperanza walking away from the house. And do they look like they're showing empathy to her? Not at all. They don't look like they're being very kind. Then in an icy voice. What would an icy voice sound like? I'm going to give you a second to practice an icy voice. Does it sound sweet and lovely? Or does it sound mean and cold? Yeah, probably mean and cold. Okay, give it a try. Let me hear. Oh, that's scary. You're scaring me. All right, here we go. In an icy voice, I'm going to try my icy voice. She spoke to Adelita. And don't you dare call me Mama again. I am Donna Michaela to you. Is that icy? Did you like it? Okay. She turned and left, nose in the air. Entre lágrimas y abrazos. Amid tears and hugs, poor Esperanza said goodbye to Adelita, and she left with her meager belongings. That's her leaving. Adelita was in despair. The days ahead held nothing but loneliness and hard work. Adelita had to prepare all of the meals, clean the rooms, and fetch and carry for Valentina and Dulce, who became more like maldad y vinegra. Meanness and vinegar. When someone's being mean, that sometimes they can, that can be referred to as, that vinegar is, like meanness and vinegar, like not very nice, not very sweet, because vinegar's not sweet. All right. Mis hijas, my daughters, Donna Michaela said one morning as Adelita was serving breakfast. El Señor and La Señora Gordillo have sent us an invitation. What do you think it's to? What does an invitation do? Yeah, I'd invite you somewhere. Where do you think they're being invited to? A ball? Let's see. They have sent us an invitation to una fiesta en su hacienda. Is that a ball? No, a party at their ranch to celebrate the homecoming of their son, Javier. Ooh, Mama, Valentina and Dulce twittered. And, Donna Michaela said with a smile, se rumora, rumor has it, that he will be looking for a wife. And the daughters nearly fainted. Secretly, each wanted to be the wife of Javier, and they would do anything to get him. So does that kind of sound like Cinderella? They had a ball, and there was a prince, and he was looking for a princess or a wife. So this sounds very much like the original Cinderella, doesn't it? Donna Michaela, Adelita asked as she poured the hot chocolate, may I go too? I knew Senor Javier when we were young, and I would love to see him again. Are you serious? Donna Michaela asked. Look at you, so poorly dressed, such a dirty face. I would be too embarrassed to have you in our company. You will stay here. Y punto. That is final. Adelita went back to the kitchen. The next days were very busy. Adelita did not have 1 minute to herself. She was washing and pressing and sewing on ribbons and taking lace off at the mercy of every little capricho, every little whim of the sisters as each tried to outdo the other. So when Donna Michaela, Valentina, and Dulce left for the fiesta, Adelita went to the kitchen and sat by the fire. There she is, sitting by the fire. Suddenly, disappointment swept over her, and she began to weep. She missed her father. She missed Esperanza. She missed being at the fiesta. She heard a soft knock at the door. Who is it? Adelita asked. Adelita asked. Soy yo. Only me. Who is it? It's Esperanza. Oh, Esperanza, I have missed you so much, Adelita cried. Don't cry, mi pequeñita, my little one. Esperanza said, I am here. I had un sueño, a dream, that Donna Michaela would not let you go to the fiesta, so I have come here to help. I have borrowed a cart to take you there. But I have nothing to wear, Adelita said. Come with me, Esperanza said. They went to the Cuarto de Teliches. Teliches? The storeroom. What would a storeroom have in it? My storeroom has a lot of stuff in it. Usually things that we have packed away. Like I have lots of old books in my storeroom. I have lots of books in my storeroom. I should get those out. And things that my kids had when I had to go to the storeroom to get this old video out to look at. So usually a storeroom is where you would keep things that you're not using anymore. They went to the storeroom. Over there, behind those boxes, is your mother's trunk. The key is behind the crucifix. So there they are in the storeroom. You can see all the boxes. And they had the key to the trunk hidden behind the crucifix. Adelita unlocked the trunk. Inside, she found an old-fashioned, beautiful white dress. Under the dress was a magnificent rebozo, a shawl, embroidered with birds and flowers. Oh, mi mamacita, my little mother, Adelita whispered. Adelita washed and dressed. Esperanza braided her hair and wound ribbons and flowers into it. Oh, Esperanza, Adelita said. Donna Michaela will be furious when she sees me. Don't worry. She's never going to recognize you, Esperanza assured her. Now vámonos. Let's hurry. The fiesta had already begun when Adelita arrived. She walked into the room. Everyone turned to look. The room fell silent. She really made an entrance. Who was this stunning young woman? Senor Gordillo went up to Adelita. Who do we have here? He asked. I'm in disguise, Adelita said with a twinkle in her eye and a sweet smile. Just call me Cenicienta. Javier, everyone, Senor Gordillo said. Come meet our very own Cenicienta. I'm probably saying that wrong. Cenicienta. I'll keep practicing. Just, you know what I mean when I say that word, Cinderella. Javier took one look and he fell in love. He danced every dance with Adelita. He brought her refreshments. He never left her side. Adelita's heart was full as well, and all the meanness she had suffered over the years began to melt. But at midnight, what happens at midnight? Yeah, Cinderella had to get back because her dress was going to disappear. But was her dress made with magic? No, it's a real dress. It was her mother's dress. So why is she scared at midnight? Adelita was frightened. How could she explain who she was? His family would never allow him to love a kitchen maid. So she's worried he's going to find out who she is. So she was frightened. What is she going to do? What did Cinderella do? She ran. So Adelita ran away and found Esperanza. They hurried home. I will never forget this night as long as I live, Esperanza, Adelita said. Gracias. Thank you. If you ever need me, mijita, my little daughter, just call my name and somehow I will hear you, Esperanza said. The next day, all Donna Michaela and her two daughters could talk about was the mysterious Cenicienta, who had appeared and then disappeared from the fiesta, just like in the fairy tale. They were jealous of her beauty, and even more jealous because they knew that Javier had fallen in love with her. I'm glad that no one knows who she is, Valentina said, or where she is, Dulce said. And no zapatilla de cristal, no glass slipper, Donna Michaela added. Javier had told everyone that he would not rest until he found his Cenicienta. He is coming to town, hoy mismissimo, this very day, Donna Michaela announced. He will stop at every house and he will look for her. Is that what the prince did in Cinderella? The prince didn't do it, though. In this Cinderella, he sent 2 people, didn't he? So he didn't do it himself. They went looking for this glass slipper. But in today's story, the prince is coming to every house because he is the only one that really knew her. He will stop at each house and he will look for her. There is a chance to show once more what charms you have, my daughters, so prepare yourselves. Who knows, maybe one of you will make him forget the Ciencienta. Adelita, they screamed, come here, help us quickly. I'll be right there, Adelita answered. But before she went to Valentina and Dulce, she ran to her attic room and she hung her mother's rebozo, the shawl, out the window. Can you see that? The sun is coming in my window, making it a glare. So she hung that out the window. Why do you think she hung that out the window? Maybe the prince will see it? That was smart thinking. Adelita's a smart one. Here we go. So she helped the 2 sisters get dressed, and then she went back to her room, and she shyly peeked through the window. Can you see her just peeking a little bit through the window right there? And there's the rebozo, the shawl, hanging out the window. Soon she saw Javier coming down the street on his horse. Suddenly, he saw the shawl hanging out the window. He jumped down, ran to the door, and knocked. Señor Michaela de la Fortuna opened the door. Ah, Señor Javier, pasele? Por favor. Come in, please. Señora, where is she? I know my love is here, Javier said. Do you mean one of my daughters? Donna Michaela said. Valentina, Dulce, come here. Señor Javier would like to see you. What's he going to say? I don't think you're the one. Let's see. The sisters appeared in the doorway, giggling foolishly. Buen dia, good day, Señor Javier, they chimed in unison. Do you remember us? Are you looking for us? Yes, ladies, I remember you, but it's another that I'm looking for. There's no one else here, Donna Michaela said. Yes, there is, said a young voice. Are you looking for me, Señor? There was Adelita, standing at the top of the stairs in her mother's dress and rebozo. My Ciencienta, my Cinderella, Javier said. What's going on? Donna Michaela asked, while Valentina and Dulce looked at Adelita in astonishment. Oh, look at their grouchy faces. They do not look very happy, do they? It's only Adelita, Donna Michaela, Adelita said as she came down the stairs. Only Adelita. Who are you? Javier asked. I am Adelita Mercado Martinez. We knew each other when we were young. Oh, Adelita, of course I remember you. As a little girl, Javier gasped. I am so happy to have found you again, he smiled. I have come to ask my Ciencienta to marry me. Will you? I am an orphan, Señor Javier, Adelita said. Perhaps you should ask Donna Michaela if she will give her permission. Will you, Señora? Oh, so she has to rely on her stepmother to give her permission to marry him. What do you think she's going to say? Take a second to think. She's going to say yes? Why, I don't know. Well, oh, of course. We shall be honored, Señor Javier, Donna Michaela said. Valentina and Dulce glared at Adelita. What does it look like if you give a good glare? Let me see your glares. Ready? I'm going to give you my best glare. Here we go. Yeah. Got to get your eyes in tight like that and mean face like that. Yeah, they gave Adelita a glare. Then it will be, Javier said, taking Adelita's hand in his. And Adelita, in her sweetness, invited Signor Michele de la Fortuna Mercado and her daughters, Valentina and Dulce, to the wedding. Of course, Esperanza was there too, and she was going to take care of Javier and Adelita as she had done before. And just like Ciencienta and her prince, we shall live muy felices por siempre. Happily ever after, too, Javier said. And they did. The end. In the back, it has all of the Spanish phrases. So if you ever check this book out from the library, it has all of the phrases that are in the book, and it tells you how to pronounce them. So I kind of went through and brushed up on my pronunciations a little bit, but I didn't get them all perfectly. So some of them are hard for me to say. But it's a good book to practice your Spanish with. And then there's those end pages again. Such a pretty design. This is kind of the design that was on her shawl, right? That went out the window. So that is today's story. Adelita. It's a Mexican Cinderella story. So what country would that be from? Yeah, from Mexico. So all week long we will read some more stories about Cinderella, and we will have different adventures and compare them all to the one that we're most familiar with, the Cinderella story that we know. And so don't forget this story, because we'll be talking about this one again too. Okay? So see you next time. Thank you.